Alrighty, welcome everyone to our first speaker of the day. I'm Gary Tu, the co-director of synHacks and Hack the World, and we're very excited for you to be joining us today. We're very happy to have Scott with us. Scott was originally from a small town of Monroe, Utah, and he's been spending the last 8 years working with student leadership, education, and other professional organizations around the country to enhance the quality of leadership, training, and growth in their programs. After graduating from University of Southern California with a degree in applied performance psychology, Scott now operates his own leadership coaching brand, Nix Your Limits, and works as a senior manager for leadership coaching at TEAMTRI Leadership Resources. When not working to inspire and develop more leaders, Scott enjoys his time with his family and renovating his 1994 RV to set out on adventures on the road. So Scott, thank you for joining us, and the time is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Gary, and the entire team. It has been so cool to see this experience happening. And so to our team, shout out to each of you for being able to post this event. But to all of you out there, thank you for leaning in to your experience and saying, you know what, this seems like something I want to be involved in. I want to learn, I want to grow, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But shout out to each of you for being a part of this. And so I am so grateful for the opportunity and working with students and ambitious students that want to learn, that want to grow, that want to get involved and that kind of thing. That is exactly where I want to be. And so good luck to everyone this week in what you're trying to accomplish and the projects that you're working on. I'm excited to kind of see how the week goes and the other speakers that you have and just kind of see the results after it's all said and done. And so it's an awesome thing for you each to say, as I've thought about like what I wanted to share is first just to make sure that you all have the opportunity to kind of take a step back and realize like what you're doing in a time like right now, right? Like right now, it can be very relevant for us to think about like it's a global pandemic. There's a lot going on here, both with economy and health and even schooling, and a lot of questions are out there. But each of you had an opportunity, some thought or seeing an Instagram post or being invited by someone of like, hey, there's this thing going on. Would you want to be a part of it? And you leaned in and said yes. And when you do that, that is such a great sign for you to show you're on the right track, that even though changes will always come, and like, obviously, I hope that there's never consistent global pandemics and that kind of thing, but change is always going to be a part of our lives. And when you have the habit of already, no matter what's happening, if there's opportunities and you say, you know what, that actually seems like a really good opportunity, I'm going to say yes, you lean into that, good things are going to happen. Good things are going to happen both in your career, in your education, in your personal, like whatever else that might look like. And so I just want to appreciate that moment of what's happening right now. But yes, a little bit about me like I live my life by taking advantage of opportunities. That's kind of how I see that I have been able to do everything that I've been able to do in my career is by saying yes to opportunities. That started way early on in high school and probably even before that. But then being able to grow and develop ever since. And so a little bit more about my journey. I had an experience in college, early in college, that I saw the shift for me. When I said yes to an opportunity, kind of like all of you are saying yes to an opportunity like this. And what that looked like was I was coming off a college football career. I spent the first couple of years in college playing football. So I was a sports guy, and that's how I kind of did my thing getting into college. Saw the end of that come and like, okay, gonna hang up the cleats. What's next for me? And one of my sisters who had already gone to college and graduated and that kind of thing, she said, hey, you know what you could do now is this. And she pointed me in the direction of what was called a student leadership position. And so I was like, okay, like, sure, I have free time now, so I'll check it out. And so I went and I applied for that job, not really knowing anything. And I was able to get that job. And it was like, okay, great. I am going to soak it up. Like I knew that because of the schedule that you have to be a collegiate athlete, it's crazy. It's a full-time job kind of thing, like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. just football, and then go do your homework and that kind of thing. And so I knew I had a lot of time that I could spend. And so I started leaning into this opportunity as a student leader. I said, you know what, there is opportunity for me to learn here. There's got to be something for me to grow, some questions I can ask myself and the things that I can learn. And there's got to be some cool people to meet. I mean, this is a leadership thing. There's people that want to be leaders. Okay, so there's probably some cool people to meet. And so I leaned into it as much as I could. And after that first semester, the department that I was with, as a student leader, they created this new position. And they're like, hey, student leaders, we have this new position that's going to like supervise some of the other student leaders. Like it was a new leadership position within the group. And they said, it's open, you can apply. Let us know, like if you want to apply. And it was over like the winter break in December. And I looked at that opportunity. I was like, hey, that sounds awesome. Started talking to some of the other student leaders, and there was some natural resistance of like, oh, that's going to be, the people that had been around at the job for a long time, they're going to apply and they're going to get it. So that's why I'm not applying. Like, that's what multiple people said to me. And I was like, well, like, I know them and I know they're awesome, but like, I still want to pursue that opportunity too. And so I did. And I applied for that position and I got it. And all of a sudden I found myself going from peer to supervisor, which is an interesting one to go through with your friends, and your peers. And so I leaned into it as much as I could. And that summer, like at the end of that spring, I graduated. And then that college, that university where I was at, they created a position of a full-time position as a leadership coordinator. And they said, Scott, this is the position we want for you to do. Like I had to apply for it. They said, like, there's this position, but we want you to apply. So I jumped in and I got that job. And so straight out of just getting my associate's degree, 2 years out of college, or 2 years into college, getting my first full-time job at that school. And then off I went. And that's turned into so many other cool things about student leadership, and just how you can, like, a big message for me right now for all of you is you have a lot of time. You can maximize your time to do the things that you really want to do. And that could look like, social life. Yes, you have plenty of time for that. But then learning other things, whether that's technical skill, leadership skills, just other knowledge and things like that. Like, you have so much more time than you think. And so it's what you're going to do with it that matters. The other thing that I'll say is that, everybody on earth, we all have the same amount of time in a day. And so it's a matter of how we spend that time is what's going to make the biggest difference. And so just like all of you leaning in or watching on the stream on YouTube, like, you're taking the moment of the time that everyone in the world is experiencing right now, and you're leaning into your own growth. And that says a lot to me. That says a lot, because think of all the options. You could be playing Fortnite, you could be sleeping, you could be eating, you could be doing anything. And yet here you are, because there's an opportunity of like, maybe I can learn a little bit, and you're leaning into that. And that's a big deal. And moments like that is what I try to be mindful of throughout my entire life, of like, okay, like there's options here. There's stuff that we could do. But what am I going to do with that time that I have right now? And as you seek to have that motivation and that idea of like, okay, I want to lean into this and I want to make the most of it. And then you start seeing options come. And along with options that we have throughout this world are what I refer to as limits. And so that's where, like, my phrase, like, Nix Your Limits, comes in a lot for what I do. And what I mean by that, limits are just anything out there that holds you back from doing what you feel like you truly want to do. Growing into the person you want to be, pursuing a career you want to pursue, a university that you want to pursue, like whatever. But something that limits you is holding you back. And then the word nix, I know, is an older word, Nix, but that word means to like cut out or to null, like refuse to accept. And so this phrase became for me of like, okay, you're going to nix your limits. You're going to say, yes, there is something out there that's saying, oh, don't do that. Like plenty of people right now could be, this is a weekend. Like, why do you got to be a part of the opening for this Hack the World thing? Like, it seems kind of weird anyway. And why not just go sleep and do something else, right? No, you're going to lean into that. You're going to nix that limit and say, no, this is what I'm going to do. And I saw that for me in my life growing up. When I started pursuing things that were different, there's natural resistance that comes from people. Oh, like, what? You do that now? Right? Like, no, you're an athlete. And I got told that so much. Like, no, you're an athlete. Like, why are you trying to be in choir or like starting to play musical instruments or whatever that might be? And it's like, well, okay, like I hear you, but I'm going to choose not to accept it. I will nix that limit and I'm going to do it anyway. And so that attitude, that mindset, I think it can be so powerful for all of us, and especially for all of you. The sooner that you get this, the faster that you're able to move towards what you feel like is going to make you happy, what you feel like you truly want to do. All of us have a natural way of how we want to benefit the world. We all have something that we want to do, whether that's like, what I want to do? I want to create an incredible app that's going to help so many businesses. right? Like maybe it's that. Maybe it's, you know what, like, and I work with a lot of students, not just that are interested in, you know, in tech and that kind of thing. And so maybe that I've worked with students who said, you know what I really want to do, Scott? I want to go back to my hometown and be like a third grade teacher because, and I've had both cases for this, because my third grade teacher made such a huge impact on me, or I had terrible elementary school teachers and I want to go be an awesome one. And I'm like, heck yeah, do it. Yes, that is awesome. Like move towards what you know is gonna help you pursue your passion. So if that's an incredible app that you want to be able to take off and do a startup and have an awesome exit so you can go do awesome things after that and that kind of stuff. Or if you end up wanting to go back and teach a class at your high school to help students want to do that more. No matter where in between, you got to make sure that you acknowledge that, you know what, there's no shortage of success. And just because somebody says, oh, that's not big enough, or your dream is too big, that doesn't mean you can't do it. And so in my life and in the leadership and the stuff that I talk about a lot is everything can come down to, in terms of your leadership growth, into three things. And that's what, like, my core message is I'm going to share with you is like what those three things are. But before I dive into that, I just want to reinforce the idea of how leadership matters. And when I say leadership, I don't necessarily mean, well, I definitely don't mean, I don't mean like titles. I don't mean that the only way that you're a leader is if you become a CEO, if you become a manager, if you become a director of a division. Like that's not the type of leadership that I'm trying to get into. That's actually, in my opinion, that's not leadership. That's just positions in a company. That's just structure. That doesn't mean leadership. Leadership is the action of how one influences other people towards making an awesome thing happen. And so that's what I'm trying to talk about. Is like, no matter, you don't have to have a fancy position. You could be a member of this group right here and jamming it out on the Discord server of just influencing someone and giving them some encouragement. They ran into a challenge with their project that they're trying to knock out this week. And they're saying, man, like I ran into this, and you come in and help them, or just like to influence or give them some encouragement. Like that's leadership. That's a small degree of you trying to influence and help others. And so when it comes to leadership, I want you to think about, yes, this week and beyond, I want you to try and hone your technical skills, right? And that's a lot of what we're trying to do is trying to learn how to do a next piece that's going to help us get to the next level of developing a cool app or a feature, you know, in addition to a website, a plugin, like anything like that. But I want you to take a moment to look beyond this, to look beyond the tech and say, you know what else could I learn? What else could I learn? So I'm going to circle back to this at the end, but a challenge that I want to give each of you is that first, you maximize this entire opportunity. Your organizers for this event have an incredible schedule. There are so many awesome people, like way cooler than me, in my opinion. But thank you for being here for my part. But you have some fantastic speakers that like ask me anything and workshops and different stuff that you can be able to learn so much. And so if you just simply attend, if you just be a part of it, you will be able to, again, start to level up in how you're using your time compared to so many other people in the world right now, right? And because you're leaning into your own growth, you are growing. And so I want you to, I want to challenge you, if you can, to take advantage of every single moment on the schedule. But if nothing else, be at three things. Okay, three things. And this is going to be the 3x3x3 is what I suggest for anyone being a part of a conference, a virtual event like this, is the 3x3x3. And so that first one is to be at three things, okay, that are part of it. Yes, and that's outside of you doing your project with your team. Okay, that's why you're here. But take advantage of three other things: workshops, the game nights, anything. Okay, so take advantage of those three of those things. The next thing, I want you to meet three people. I want you to meet three people, okay? And three people that you didn't come in knowing, all right? And so not just the three people that you came on your team with. Maybe you were one of the ones that, hey, you wanted to be a part of it, but then you needed to jump into a team later. And then, you know, your organizers helped you with that, which is awesome. And so now, like, meet them. Jump in Discord and just ask a general question of like, hey, who's into this? I'm kind of into this. And then, so, you know, people can respond and you can say, okay, cool. And you follow up with those people, but try to meet three people. It can be incredible, the opportunities that can happen through networking. This group, your group here, they're everywhere on social media. As we were about to get started, I started getting pinging all over, like Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, Twitter posts. Like, it's awesome. And so we want to take advantage of that, connect with people. Life is all people. And I truly saw that for myself too. When I was early in high school, early in college, like I just tried to meet as many people as I could, find good relationships with them, and try to serve them in some way. And that even if not every single person turned around and offered me a job, right? Like it's not like that, but that practice became a power. That practice became a power for later, where when those moments did matter, I was totally ready for it. When those moments of all of a sudden I realized, whoa, you know who's at this table? Somebody that could book me for a huge speaking gig. And like, that's my world, right? It's like speaking and doing that kind of thing. And all of a sudden I realized like, oh, wow, like that's that guy, or like that's that girl that leads that whole thing. And like, okay, straighten the tie, like, oh, but if you're ready for it, then it's just natural and you're able to make that happen so easily. And so if you wait for those moments to practice, then you're not going to be ready. But if you start now by interacting with people, your peers, you're just forming good relationships, building your communication skills, you're ready for those moments and they're natural. And then the yeses come so much faster. And so don't wait for those moments down the road. Start taking action on it right now and lean into this moment to meet at least 3 people you didn't know before. That could be one of your event organizers because they're all awesome. But it could be one of the tens and tens and tens, well over 100 of the different participants that are in this virtual event too. There's someone out there that you could meet and be like, man, this is like, we're a dynamic duo now and we're just going to knock something out of the park and go make some good things happen. The last thing is the 3x3x3, right? The third thing is 3 things you can learn as part of this, right? None of you, like none of us, and myself included, are at the stage you're not good enough to accomplish all of your life goals right now. And like, that's kind of a weird thing to say. Like, Scott, I thought you were like motivational and you just said we're not good enough. Well, I did. I'm not sorry about it. Like, we all aren't good enough to achieve our life dreams right now. We have to grow to get there. And so what are 3 things that you can learn? I know you're trying to be good enough to maybe, win some of the awesome prizes. Shout out to the sponsors of this. Like, this is awesome. So you've got some cool prizes that you could be able to take off and take advantage of. But what are 3 things you could learn? And so either during this week or questions that you identify of like, okay, part of that event helped point out to me that I need to learn this. And that becomes your next thing that you go and try and pursue. All right. So that's the 3x3x3. 3 actions, like be a part of 3 different things, meet 3 people, and then try to answer 3 questions, like 3 things you need to learn or a new question that, okay, that's going to help me get to the next level. All right. But then when you think about that in terms of leadership and how that all plays into it, of trying to understand how it's more than just your IQ that's going to matter for the rest of your career. Like, obviously IQ matters. That's what you know, especially in this world. Obviously what you know matters, of being able to, do the coding and creating and all of that. And I'm not going to pretend I know as much as many of you. I definitely don't. But I want you to identify that there's more than just IQ, like that technical skill, that technical knowledge that's going to matter for you in your career. The other aspects are something like, sometimes it's referred to as EQ, like your emotional awareness, your people skills. Okay, so that's such a valuable piece as well that you need to learn and be able to lean into. And another piece is like your personal, like your self-awareness. That's another area of just like, do you understand where your strengths are, but also where your weaknesses are? A lot of times for ambitious students, it's very easy for us to be super confident in, no, this is what I'm good at. I know I'm good at it and I just do it because I'm good at it. But what's beyond that? What are things that could help you get to the next level? And so having that self-awareness piece is important too. And so lean into that as well. Yes, like go all in and create that awesome app or whatever the project is that you're looking at taking out this week. But also think about those other ideas too, because it's more than just technical knowledge that's going to dictate your success. And so with all that being said, like nix your limits, and like, I want you to be able to nix your limits. I want you to be able to remove the barriers that are standing in your way from accomplishing the big things you have in store for you. But how can you do that? Well, as Gary said, I pursued psychology in my route. Like I want to figure out how your mind works and how that plays into leadership and career development and growth and all of that good stuff. And so as I did all my research and tried to complete my master's program and all that good stuff, it kind of boiled down to 3 things. 3 things that if you take action on, or if you like work in or try to develop, that you will be able to nix more limits. You will be able to get through the things that are holding you back. And so that's kind of the thing that I want to share with you to give some action item as well. So that first thing is your mindset. Okay, that's the first one, is mindset. How can you shift what you're focusing on to help yourself be able to level up? Oftentimes when limits come, it's really easy to encounter negativity and to kind of let it wrap you up. And all of a sudden you're like, oh man, like I messed up, right? Like maybe that's the limit. Like it didn't work the first time. You knocked out all this code and you ran the test and boom, it didn't work. Shoot. So what happens? Do you say, crap, like you give up? Or is there other ways that you can be able to shift beyond that? And so things about your mindset of like, first, acknowledging you can nix your limits, like things that come and counter in you. You don't have to worry about that. And I know in the AMA yesterday, they talked a little bit about that. Like good entrepreneurs don't worry about if they don't try to not ever fail. They acknowledge that they will have some failures. And so that's such an important piece for us to remember. But other aspects of your mindset are that there is no shortage to success. Okay, to acknowledge that maybe, I hope you do, but maybe you don't win in your category this week. But just because someone doesn't mean like, well, I guess you'll never win anything in the rest of your life ever, right? We can look beyond the moment and say, you know what, there's no shortage to success. And so I am still trying to be my best. I'm still trying to learn. I'm still trying to grow. Another aspect of your mindset is to understand that success loves speed. Success loves speed. And what I like about that is that, the faster you get going, the faster the success can come. Now, I also mean controlled speed, right? Not just go and just be chaos. It's a little bit controlled, but the faster you start, the faster you can learn, the faster you can adjust as needed, and the faster success can come. So success loves speed. Don't wait. And I love that. Like I'm preaching to the choir right there. If you know that phrase of like, all of you are already here. I think you're all on the same page with that of like, yeah, that's why I'm here. I want to take advantage of this moment of being a part of this, not just wait for opportunities to come, but I sought it out and here I am. But another piece for you is just to be an action taker, right? To just always say, I'm going to take action. So this week there's a great schedule in mind. So how can you take action? How will you make sure that you're going to be there? Right? Like how can you take it off the website, put it into your calendar, put it on a sticky note on your light switch in your room, put it on your game controller so that you see it before you jump into your next round of whatever, right? Like build yourself a schedule of like, you know what, this week is only here for this week and I want to be a part of it live. And so you can take advantage of that. So your mindset, how can you focus on what will bring you growth? How can you focus on what will bring you more of what you want? Which can be growth and tech knowledge and connections or whatever it might be. And so first thing is to look at your mindset. Okay. And that I saw that totally true for me. As Gary mentioned in my intro, like I grew up in a tiny little town. Like I had a better chance of getting hit by a cow than a car, like in my town, like there's just a tiny little farm town, 2 hours from anything, like 2 hours from a Target, that kind of thing, like far, just out in the middle of nowhere. And there was a natural thing that my mindset, I had to have a strong mindset because of the amount of limits that naturally came. I always wanted to play college football. No one from my high school had ever played college football. Like basketball, yes. Like if maybe you're familiar with this, of like every school sometimes always has like a sport. My school was a basketball school. Like we were awesome at basketball, but nobody cared about football. Well, I did. But even though I was good, people would still say, why are you worried about football? Nobody from our school ever goes to play college football. I'm like, well, hopefully it's going to be me. Like, why are you giving me encouragement? Why are you trying to limit me? So it's a strong mindset that way. Even trying to go into USC for my master's degree, especially, USC for this applied psychology world is one of the top schools in the entire nation. Like it's a phenomenal program. And again, you went to this tiny little farm to high school. Like, who do you think you are being able to go to school like that? And those are real comments that I get, but you have to be able to rise above that, saying, you know what, this is what I want to do and I'm going to pursue it. And so I'm not going to let that limit me from pursuing what I know is going to help me be happy, help me be able to take advantage of what I want to do in the world, what good I want to do in the world. So with all that being said, like you have your mindset, cool. Like you want to feel motivated, awesome. Like I love feeling motivated, but it also won't do anything for you until you start doing something. So I get that. Sometimes motivation seems real fluffy, and I agree. And so you have to translate that motivation into action. And the best way to do that is by focusing on habits. Okay, so that's the second one, is habits. How can you repeatedly take action needed to grow, to learn, to be more successful as a student, and then later, in your career, or if you're starting that out right now, like getting a jump start on that, to being able to do that right now. So habits. Never just think that you just need to take action once. That's a natural thing for us. We might learn of, like, we're taking notes during a cool workshop, or when a speaker is talking, you go to a leadership conference or something and watch a TED talk or whatever. You feel motivated, so you write down a thing of like, ooh, yeah, that was really good. Like, I write down that quote. Well, what are you going to do about it? And I will peg that into, I work with students all the time, all year long, in a lot of different ways, a lot of different parts of the country, and sometimes even outside of the country, which is fun. But that's the big thing, is like, what are you going to do about it? Because knowing does nothing for you. Like, just knowing does nothing unless you take action. So what are you going to do? And how are you going to keep doing it? So habits, think about this week. How can you make it a habit to check Discord every day? Well, maybe multiple times a day, to plug into your schedule of attending all of the live events and stuff, or even just planning out your group time of when you're going to work on your project, right? Now, I know a lot of you are probably locked in on that. Like, no, we got this. Like, we have a whole schedule set, which is great, but then make that happen for other aspects of your life. Okay. Learn how to connect what you're doing to today into tomorrow. So even fast forward into school. I know, like, there's still a lot of questions what that might look like this year. But we always feel that frustration of, like, classes that we feel like, don't matter to us. Like, oh, I'm not going to use this topic in my life, and that kind of thing. It's like, okay, well, you dictate what value that class is going to do for you. You do it. Don't rely on your teacher or your parents or your principal or anybody like that. You do it. And I remember doing that a lot. I took a chemistry class one time in college. I was like, I am not a chemist. I don't have any plans to be a chemist, but I got to learn this to check the box for my degree. And so here I am. What I did is I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I've always wanted to be better organized. So I'm just going to, like, go all in on being the most organized chemistry student that this teacher has ever seen. And, like, I tried different planners and different ways to, like, be organized and write out all my assignments and all that kind of stuff. So I always knew what was coming. And I did that. And that actually built some really powerful, really strong development, like, habits of personal organization for me that have carried me even today. And that was like 7 years ago. And so that's a piece that I've always found to be confident in my world ever since that chemistry class too. Other classes that I took, I'm like, okay, this class, I want to just be better. Like, how can I make this teacher like me? I had a history teacher that was, like, known for just being like this grumpy person that just stands up at the front, gives their basic lecture, and then walks out, kind of thing. And I'm like, all right, this semester, I don't really care about the history. I do now. I'm a better person. Yeah, you need to care about history, right? But I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get this teacher to like me. And so I just tried experimenting with different things of how to communicate, and, like, throw a joke in here, or just going up afterwards to say thank you, just trying a bunch of different things. And I finally, like, by the end of the semester, I was like, yeah, like, he likes me. Like, it was a cool moment that we had at the end of the semester. So just take advantage of that, but making it a habit. How can you translate your action, your motivation into actions, but repeated into habits? Okay. So habits is that other piece. Last of all, just kind of as I close out, of just take action. All right. You've got to do, and especially when what you do after you fail. And because, one, failure will come. You will mess up in some ways. Something won't happen as perfect as you wanted it to. It's going to happen, and that's okay. But what will you do after? Will you go right back at the problem, right? Like, you're saying, okay, what happened? How can I adjust? How can I do it a little bit differently? And then go right back at it and try again? Or do you give up? Do you, actually shelf a dream because it didn't work the first time, and you go do something that isn't going to make you happy? Yeah, I want the best for you. I want each of you to be able to achieve high things, to achieve high level goals, high levels in your career. I want you to be able to go change the world with whatever dream or goal that you have. But you have to start shifting your mindset. You have to start translating action into habits to make it repeated and consistent. And beyond anything else, you have to just continue to take action. And then the last thing, just to remember that challenge, 3 by 3 by 3. All right. 3 things you can be a part of in this schedule. Again, it's a phenomenal schedule. You will learn something. Three people that you can meet that you didn't come in already knowing. And then 3 questions you can answer. Maybe that's things that you're learning about yourself this week or from one of the speakers or things like that. Or 3 questions that are going to take you to the next level after this week. Like, all right, those are next. That's what I need to go do next. If you do that 3 by 3 by 3, you will maximize this moment, but then it will prepare you for the next one. And that's life, is taking advantage of this moment so you're ready for the next one, and then take advantage of that one. And then continue day by day, week by week. And all of a sudden you'll find yourself where you have a moment where you're like, whoa, it's happening. Like high school me had these big goals and like, I'm here. This is happening. All right, time to do it again. Maximize the moments to prepare you for the next. And so take advantage of this moment. Again, thank you for you being able to lean into this opportunity. And thank you to our great organizers here for taking advantage of this moment. So please encourage them for putting in all of the hard work that they are, but you each take advantage of this time so that we can hack the world, right? And make positive change happen throughout. So thank you for your time, everybody. And I'll turn it back to you, Gary.
Thank you so much, Scott, for always inspiring us to do more. I'm sure a lot of us would like to hear a little bit about what you're working on and maybe where we can check you out.
Awesome. Yeah. I'd love to connect with anyone. So at Nix Your Limits, NIXYOURLIMITS on any social media platform, really. But I'm really active on Instagram, LinkedIn. You'd be welcome to connect with me there. I'm trying to get connected with a lot of students because I want to help students learn how to take advantage of that powerful opportunity that is LinkedIn. So I'm happy to connect with any of you there as well. Twitter also. I have a blog called Nix Your Limits, but more specifically, I just want to encourage you to tune in to, it's called the Student Leadership Podcast. I'm interviewing students and like, they don't have to be like the fancy students that get on the news. Like, no, I'm just trying to tell regular student stories, help them tell their stories about how leadership has helped them get to the next level. And I think there can be some powerful things that you can learn there too. So the Student Leadership Podcast on any podcast platform, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so on. But yeah, I'd love to connect with any of you. I know you're all awesome, so I can't wait to be able to connect.
Yeah, sounds good. And for those joining us on stream, if you're interested in more events similar like this, we have one coming up today at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Hosted by Echo AR. They'll be teaching us how to create a AR/VR app with no technical skill or coding skill required. So that's a great workshop to check out. If you're interested, that's again at 7 p.m. today. And thank you for joining us. Have a great day.